Howdy folks, it's the illustrious Dr. Groovy, Scott Grove from Groovy Music Lessons coming your way again. I wanted to do this video strictly because it is informative. There are lessons here to be learned, or learnt if you're from where I am from. But it just, it's a little history in country western, probably not much country live that is going on currently here in the 2017, I guess this is now. But from all the way back from whenever country western was done, you know, back in the El Paso days, you know, Marty Robbins and so forth, all the way up to the end of country as we knew it, up to folks like George Strait, Alan Jackson were about the last of the real country singers, bands that were large enough to create this kind of music. It's all about the acoustic guitars and the fact that you would actually see 2, 3, 4, 5 acoustic guitars on stage with any given band, plus pedal steel, fiddle, your bass, your drums, and many other instruments, dobro, mandolin, what have you. Okay, plus all the electric guitars and other things. You know, just 13-piece bands, but you'll have 4 or 5 acoustic guitars. There's a reason for that. It makes the sound huge, and especially in the studio, what they're doing is, if they can afford it, they're recreating the way that acoustic guitars are actually recorded in a Nashville studio, not on your little Porta studio. And hopefully this will help some of you create the rhythm beds in your recording at home and get that original awesome sound that you can't get because you don't know this particular information. Very easy information, but here it is. Okay, bring this on down. Boink. You always gotta love Scotty for his amazing camera work. Okay, so those guitar players, when you get to the folks like Alan Jackson and George Strait, generally they are holding a guitar. Their guitar does not go through the mains, it goes through their in-ear monitors, and that is it. Nothing more, nothing less. So they're just sitting there holding one, as we all know. They are not lending anything to the band other than they like to rest their arm on a guitar. And you'll get people like Alan Jackson who like Don't Rock the Jukebox. He'll give himself a little chord, but it will never come through the PA. It just comes through his monitors in his ear. For songs like Don't Rock the Jukebox, he'll just kind of go through his ear, and we don't hear it or see it. And they'll 2, 3, 4, don't rock the jukebox, and you'll never hear, you know, his guitar again. He probably won't even strum it. Just give himself a note to come in on, because anybody else's, you're going to hear it because they are the players. Okay, so what is happening and what happens live and what happens on Memorex is you get people playing all kinds of parts. Number one, there is the typical rhythm guitar on acoustic that is usually broken up into at least 2 parts. Okay, so you'll have 2 different guys playing the main rhythm guitar part. You'll never, hardly ever see 2 of them doubling up on the exact same thing because there is no need for it, and it just gets in each other's way if they're not doing it identical like a flipping clock. And the chances of that are better with better musicians, but there's still no need for it. Everybody still needs to lock in, but they're all going to have their own parts. You're going to have an acoustic player that will be doing like a, in G, like a root 5th, so like a, and adding percussion. That's their job for the entire night. That is the way they're going to play. Every song will be root fifth if it requires it. Everybody, of course, has all this down beforehand. The other guy, so he's basically going for a root and an upstroke. Okay, and then what are you missing? You're missing the rhythm. The rhythm still isn't there yet. You've got those going. And the thing is, the acoustic guitar is such a pure instrument that when amplified correctly, you can mix them all together with slightly different peak resonant frequencies, and it just is, the separation of them all is amazing, and then it comes together as a larger than life guitar that you just can't make out of one guitar. So it is vital to a lot of people's, you know, overall sound, especially when it is flat out country. Okay, so now you got to have one guy with just a whole bunch of high end in his guitar. That's where they'll put him, right up there with the hi-hat as far as being in the mix. So I'll create a little bit of that here, and it'll just basically be this. Okay, so it could be that while the other people are playing all the other stuff. Okay, and then we've got this really big sounding huge guitar doing all kinds of stuff, but it could still be done by one guitar. That kind of playing is not impossible at all. You could just get that kind of thing, but it is not going to be all these people very conscious of time, of exactly where they fit in, give the other person a break to play their note, and then their note is right after it, and it's all in perfect syncopation. And then you have the guy, I don't even know that I got a flipping capo around right now because I'm just not fond of them in any way, shape, or form. This one here is just one that covers, what, 3 strings. Thought it was interesting, so a 3-string capo. So that's when you get into, instead of that there stuff, you'll just have a guy that'll come up here. Okay, or that kind of thing. And if he's not doing that, you will have what is called a high-strung guitar player. This is huge in the studio, and it's awesome. Think of a 12-string guitar, for those of you who do not know what a high-strung guitar is. It will still be a 6-string. But it's like if you have a 12-string and you take off the 6 regular strings and you leave all, you're still, your E and your B are just doubles of each other, but your G, D, A, and low E all have octave strings, so everything's really high tune sounding. But when mixed in with everything else, it becomes huge. It doesn't actually sound like a 12-string. It almost sounds like a different instrument, kind of mandolinish or something. But acoustic guitars, again, when done up right, sound very breathy, just as real as it can get. And that's what the old country was about. Man, it's just acoustic this, acoustic that. Dobro, resonators, I should say. Dobro's actually a company. But you get 4 people playing different parts that work simultaneously as one huge guitar, that is no easy feat. Okay? So that's what is going on. That's why there's so many people up there with an acoustics, and it looks like there 2 or 3 of them are going to exactly, you watch their hands and they're doing exactly the same thing. They're not playing the same thing. There's no reason for them to. And they will be holding that chord. Okay? And they're both going like this. You got at least 2 of them. Okay? And one of them is... Or... And you got the... And it looks like they're doing the same thing. So it looks like they're doing the same thing. They're not. Okay, then you got the high strung guy. It looks like it's doing almost the same thing, but it's not. He's an octave higher than everybody else. And if it's not on stage, then you're going to have a guy probably with a capo up here. Okay, so you might have that. You might even have doing that kind of thing, and that's what is going on. I know it's not a huge lesson of any sort, but if you ever wonder why, holy cow, why are they having 4 or 5 acoustic players on the payroll? That is why, and they all know exactly when to lay out, get out of there and let one guitar be one guitar. But then when everything finally comes in, it's just this huge wash that still sounds like one big ass guitar, because you'll have somebody okay, and you'll always hear just that one guitar, and it's all kinds of parody and all by itself. But once the drums, bass, and everything else kick in, and those 3 other acoustic players kick in at just the right volume, there is nothing else in the world like it. So, bone up on some of your older videos and the George and Alan Jackson stuff. Look for it. Look for, pardon me while I make this move I always do. There you go. But bone up on all the really old stuff. Check credits on the albums and so forth, or just look them up. I think it's cool the LPs are coming back. And just revel in what is actually being played that you're not hearing. You're seeing something, but you're not piecing it together. Okay, and try this when recording. It takes some major getting used to. You're not going to do it the first 1,000 times you try it. These people are famous for being rhythm guitar players that you've never heard of and never will, and it's because they go tick tock, tick tock, and never miss anything. And the other guy is paid for going tick tock every other note and never misses anything, but he's doing one subtle thing different than the other guy that's an octave higher or what have you, or who's doing the lead parts here and there. It's a very complicated arrangement, but a very long-standing tradition of putting these things together. So yeah, it's a long-winded thing from me as always, but I think some people will get it they will respect it, and hopefully you will at least try some of this stuff when tracking some of your own songs or other songs. You're wondering why it doesn't seem right, why there are so many heavy guitars. It doesn't sound country western. It just sounds like, you know, drums, bass, electric guitar, and a tinkle on a piano now and then. You need a whole bunch more acoustics, but they're not going to overpower everything. It's just this cool, it's like an ocean, man. It's just, you're riding on, you know, like 40 strings or something at one time, and then everything else is kind of bouncing around, you know. Here comes Flipper. Wing! That was the piano doing a little ride. But all these other guys are back here. I mean, just chugging, 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 and unsung as can be. But they are the meat and potatoes of everything. Them, the drummer and the bass player. But these guys do not waver, ever. And that's why they get triple, quadruple scale for being dead on chord players, rhythm players. But they stay out of each other's way, and they create the rhythm that has to be there for country or country western music of those few decades. Nowadays, some of the producers are still aware, if they're still alive, how that gets done, but I don't think most of the musicians care or have a clue. It's just about bigger guitars and detuned guitars, and yay, we get to finally play flying V's through Marshalls in country music. You know, that's where it's at. So again, there you go. Me rattling, but I think it's important for your, again, for your recordings and for your understanding of how these pieces were actually put together. And these are going to be a lot of the stuff that you go back and look at. Check the credits, see who's playing what. You'll see a lot of the same names playing on everybody's album, especially through the 80s. Same people on every album, period. Huge in the 80s. Nobody played on their own records except for the Ace and the Hole band with George Strait. They were allowed to play on his albums, like from the second album on, because they were just so stellar. But good luck getting anybody in your own band actually to play on anything, because you had the same like 8 or 10 cats that would play everything, and then you have 8 or 10 more kind of on the B list that would play the stuff for people who are just getting signed and so forth. But yeah, people like Brent Mason, Glenn Worf, God, Jorgensen was always on there. You got John Jarvis on piano, Eddie Bayers on bass. It's the same, Paul Franklin on pedal steel. It's the same people on everything. And then go see how many acoustic tracks are done, and you'll see that there are different people doing each part. And then it'll say high strung guitar, it'll say acoustic 1, acoustic 2, Alan Jackson pretended to play acoustic. So I find it interesting as all get out, and it is a art form that is dying or dead. But if you want that sound, work on it, alright? Peace. I'm gonna go eat. Bye.